Hi there, welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. With me tonight, as always, is my very good friend, wearing his hat backwards like a bourbon bro, Drew Crawley.
Come on now. Howdy, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. The backwards hat, I was hanging out outside in the yard all day. It just felt right to, do a little day drinking and throwing the frisbee in a backwards hat. Sorry.
If you're throwing a frisbee and doing day drinking, I think it's required the hat be worn backwards. So you're in uniform.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is going to be a fun show. A little different. We're kind of we talk about blending the love of whiskey with the love of music, and I think that's definitely what we're doing tonight. We're going to be talking about a whiskey man that we know and love, and we'll honor him on his birthday. And we're going to be talking about some music that we both love, and independently had a chance to see live in this last week. So we'll leave it at that for now. But first of all, we want to tell you about Bar Cart Co-op. Now that I've lost the graphic. Come on. How long have you been doing this, Kevin? Hey, Bar Cart Co-op. Here we are. We have Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. Man, they just talk with distillers from all over the place. Some really cool stuff. They've got some great shows out recently. Be sure to check them out. They talk with distillers from across the country and around the world about everything distillation. If you want to know more about what is in your bottle and how it got there, this is the show for you. It is a lot of fun. Even as a non-distiller, I find it fascinating. Now, another show that is very fascinating and takes whiskey geekdom to the next level is One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. It's a show that Alan does. If you are a distiller, whether illicit or legal, you can send questions to Alan about distilling problem or distilling question or an issue, and he will post a YouTube response to that question. Really, really cool stuff. Speaking of cool stuff, My Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike and Mitch every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. My Whiskey Den is where craft whiskey is king. They've been doing some really cool stuff. Mitch, who's just kind of stepped into the show recently, Mitch Weddle. Mitch he's been an assistant distiller at a gigantic distillery that has two words that both start with H, and he has been a cooper. He's worked at a cooperage, and so they've been doing some shows recently talking about the effect of the barrel on whiskey. It's been really fascinating stuff. I've learned some things that I didn't even know, and really cool, really, really cool. So be sure to check that out, and a little bit more about our show.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification to find out when new episodes are coming out, which do come out every single Wednesday on all of the services: Spotify, Apple Music, Google, maybe Amazon, definitely YouTube. And always hit that like button, but hit it an odd number of times, so then that way it stays as a like.
Thanks, Mike, and happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Speaking of birthdays, we're going to tell you about our friend Jason Brauner. Look at this guy. Okay, he's got the
sharp dress.
Is that velvet? Is that a velvet jacket?
Like
That's fantastic. I think it's a black velvet jacket and the black cowboy hat. And well, anyway, if you're listening to this show on the day that it comes out, which is July 26th, then you need to take a moment and wish Jason Brauner a happy birthday. Now, I don't know what number birthday it is. Not that that really matters, but wish Jason a happy birthday. So, in honor of Jason's birthday, we're going to be talking about him. We're going to be talking about Buzzard Roost. We're going to be talking about Bourbon's Bistro, and just sharing some stories about all of the above. Now, on the music side of things, this past week, Drew and I both saw Tedeschi Trucks Band. Drew saw them in Cincinnati. I saw them in St. Louis. So we'll be talking about the band, the experience of seeing them live, and that will be on side B of the show. But for right now, we're going to talk about Jason Brauner and wish him a happy birthday by drinking some of his whiskey. Right now, we're starting with Buzzard Roost Toasted Barrel. So this little gem comes in at 105 proof. It's MGP rye that's aged at least 3 years and then put in proprietary barrels developed with Independent Stave Company. They secondarily age that in these toasted barrels. The result is fantastic. So, Drew, do you have that poured in your glass now?
I sure do. I may have been sipping on it a little bit already.
Yep, you're cheating again.
Sorry,
but that's all right. Oh man, that is so good.
Yeah, it is.
What are your thoughts on the toasted barrel?
Yeah, so this one was one of my first introductions to Buzzard Roost. I think it was one of our first, but really enjoy the way that this one comes in on the nose. It's got a lot more sweet aromatics than you expect out of a MGP 95.5. This does not say that to me at all. Like if I had this blind, I would not guess a 95.5 rye. Right. But then, on the nose, you get a little bit of the toasted, kind of marshmallow or caramel type notes, almost like a toffee. And then on the palate, you get a really, really nice blend of spice and softness. So for 105 proof and 95% rye, you would kind of expect this heat, and that's not really present for this one in an unpleasant way. It balances kind of what I would say like almost a black pepper, but then also kind of the nougaty, toasty, sweet aromatic. So really like this one. Big fan. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
It has some real candy bar qualities to it. I think if you had like a Heath bar, and if a Heath bar made a baby with a Three Musketeers, I think that might be what you get.
Yep. I poured this for a buddy, and he called it like a Twix bar. So I can see the Heath thing and the Three Musketeers.
Yes, yeah, that works. Now I'll say this. I'm not above pestering people in a loving way, of course.
Always.
But I kind of was like, hey, Jason, why don't we have a barrel proof version of this toasted barrel? What's the deal with that? We really need that, Jason. Hey, Jason. And, anytime they post something on social media about toasted barrel, I'll comment, it'd be really good. Well, when they did the toasted barrel originally, Jason actually had a bottle pulled of this at barrel proof, and I did have an opportunity to taste it at barrel proof. What are y'all doing to us? Look, give the people what they want, and by the people I mean me. Put this toasted barrel out at barrel strength, and it's just it was next level, incredible. And you're exactly right. It does not drink like a typical MGP 95.5 rye. Those are all over the shelf, and the magic that they work with these barrels that were developed with independent stave. I don't know. Is it voodoo? I don't know. You know, I don't know what Jason's up to with that, but it's terrific.
Whatever
And
he's doing, it's working.
yeah. And, you know, if I'm drinking the toasted barrel, I'm saying, oh yeah, this one's my favorite until I, you know, dip into something else.
Switch to the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. You know, they, while we're finishing up our glass of the toasted barrel, we'll switch to the cigar rye next. But while we're doing that, when, you know, it's not only Jason's birthday around this time of year, it's also the anniversary of the first release from Buzzard Roost. And that happened 4 years ago, I believe, this July, or July 4 years ago. And they started with 3 barrels. They had a small batch of 2 barrels, and they had a single barrel, and that was it. And now they're in, I believe it's 30 or 35 states.
I think that's correct. Yep.
And I think at one point there were 11 different expressions. I think they may have whittled that down a little bit. And they've also introduced a bourbon, which we'll be talking about a little more later. But the level of success that they have had with this has just been astounding.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, just to piggyback on that real quick, you mentioned, you know, there are dozens, if not triple digit MGP products out on the shelves at all varying proofs and price points. And very few, if any, companies that have that as a source are doing what Jason and his team do to make that product something truly special and do something transformative to it before labeling it as their own. And so I just, you know, tip of the hat to Jason and his team. Obviously, they've created a fantastic product, but it really is special when you compare it to all the other people that are doing similar, you know, sourcing pathways and things of that nature. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's really something special. I'm scrolling through my phone. I think that I've got in here somewhere pictures of that first release, but I don't know that I do. But at any rate, it was really cool. And, you know, cheers to Jason on all of that. And let's, you know, be honest, that's not just Jason. Judy Hollis is the co-founder of Buzzard Roost, and you know, I've had an opportunity to speak with Judy a few times, and just in casual conversation, but what comes across really strongly, she's a very smart business person. She knows her stuff. And when I look at this and I think, okay, they started out with 3 barrels 4 years ago and now are at the level they are, I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. How could you have imagined this? And I asked her, you know, did you conceive that this was possible? And she said, of course I did. If I didn't, I wouldn't have got into it. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's just bingo. That's brilliant. But yeah, they've done a great many things with Buzzard Roost. And so last little sip of this toasted barrel. So happy birthday again, Jason Brauner.
Cheers.
Now, the next one we're going to taste is the cigar rye.
All right.
And I think at this point there have been 2 batches of the cigar rye. And I remembered one being a little smokier than the other, but offhand, I don't remember which one is which.
This one might be my favorite. Not to cast aspersions too quickly here, but
Yep.
man, I love this one.
It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Wildly different. Wildly different.
Yep. And what they're doing with this is they're taking Kentucky back tobacco and using smoke from the tobacco, filling the barrel with that smoke, and really at getting the influence of the smoke into that barrel, and then they're putting the rye, the MGP rye, into that smoked tobacco smoked barrel and aging it in that. And it is a really nice, subtle smoke to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if this one's your favorite, what makes it your favorite?
There's probably a couple of factors. One is just some of the nostalgia. I think the first time I tried this was with you and Mark and Tom and a few other guys in our bourbon club on your back porch, smoking cigars in the middle of the summer. It was just fantastic. So there's some good memories associated with this one. But one of the things that I have come to learn about my palate is that I appreciate a little bit more of the darker aromatics and more kind of intense flavor profiles. So, when you first get into bourbon, it's all about the caramel and all about the vanilla and, all these really sweet things. And this one has a little bit of it, but not a lot. Kind of the smoke and the oak and those things are kind of what take this to a next level thing. And I like it. So, I drink black coffee and I like rare steak and those kind of combinations of things that are intense flavors. And this one is a whiskey that embodies that kind of persona to me. So really like this one.
Yeah, I do too. I like it a lot more than I thought I would, honestly. I'm not a cigar guy, but I like the smoke in this. Buzzard Drew's also has a peated barrel, which is now called a smoked barrel.
Right.
Because people I don't like peat. Okay.
Well, grow up.
It's still peat. It's still peat. And it's just a really nice, subtle smoke that pairs. When you say steak, it pairs really well with a steak.
Yes.
Really well with a steak.
Yep.
And hopefully, I'm sure there'll be a batch 3 that comes out. But when it does, if you see it, buy it, because these do not last long.
Nope.
Not at all.
Pretty special.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk about something else with in regards to Jason. And let's talk about Bourbon's Bistro.
Yes.
So, if you've not been to Bourbon's Bistro, then, there's a problem with you and your life.
Yeah. If you live within 100 miles, get there.
Yeah. Or if you've, a lot of people come into town, do distillery tours and whatnot. It should be at the top of your list.
Absolutely.
Okay? That and going to the Buzzard Drew's Whiskey Row experience, which just opened 2.5 months ago, I guess. So, but Bourbon's Bistro is was the world's first bourbon focused restaurant. Okay. And it opened in 2015. Excuse me, 2005, not 2015.
I was going to say,
yeah. Sorry.
I didn't want to jump in on that, but I was like, I think it's older than that.
Yep, 2005. And it's a really special experience. So, Drew, talk a little bit about what your experience has been at Bourbon's Bistro.
Yeah. Just a couple things that stand out. That place has become somewhat of a special spot for me, just in that's a place we go to celebrate. I can
Right.
pop in there any night of the week and have a great meal. Their chef, Jeremy, is unbelievable. One of the best bartenders I've ever had the privilege of sitting across, and Mike.
Yep.
Jason and his team do an incredible job. But one of the reasons I love it is it's become a place that we go to celebrate. So the first time I think you and your wife Cindy met Caitlin, we went and had dinner at Bourbon's Bistro. The night that I put out my first EP on streaming services, we went to Bourbon's Bistro. My engagement dinner was there. When you got a new job, we went there to celebrate. So that's become a spot for us that is just synonymous with celebration and acknowledging that time. So it's special.
Yep. Yeah. The photo I just dropped in here is of the night, I guess the night before your first album released.
Yep.
And there it's me and you and our friend Mark, who plays drums in your band, played drums on that album. And in the background, you see Mike Downs, who's the bartender extraordinaire at Bourbon's Bistro. And yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And part of both the Bourbon's Bistro experience and, quite frankly, the Buzzard's Roost experience is that relationship thing. When I have friends that come in from out of town, it's on the what are we going to do? Well, what night are we going to Bourbon's Bistro? Okay. And that's the first thing we figure out. And it, there are just so many events that have happened there. When Alan Bishop released the documentary that Bo Cumberland did about him and distillation, the release party was at Bourbon's Bistro. We've had times where we've been out on the patio there and got to throw broken Louisville Slugger bats onto the fire. I mean, that's a ton of fun. It's just always a great experience. And Jason, and he's got a team with Jeremy and Mike and Margot and so many others. In an industry where there's just incredibly high turnover, they do a really good job at keeping their people and keeping good people that understand what that experience is all about. So again, Jason, congratulations on just not just a fantastic restaurant, but a fantastic meeting place for people. Relationships are built and grown there, and I don't think that's an overstatement by any stretch. And there's Jason behind the bar. If you go to Bourbon's Bistro, or you go to the Whiskey Experience down on Whiskey Row, you're liable to see him, and it would not be unusual to see him behind the bar at either place. So, so all right. So I've poured. We've also got a couple of years ago. Jason, famously says, "I never liked rye," but for the first couple of years that he had his own brand, guess what they had? A rye. Well, now they have, for the last couple of years, they've had a bourbon, and they've got a few different expressions of that. They have one that's finished in, I think, French oak. Is that right? And then this is a barrel strength bourbon that is a store pick from our friends over at Westport Whiskey and Wine. So we're going to be trying some bourbon here now.
All right.
But one other thing I want to mention about Buzzard's Roost as a brand, and this is just personal, okay? You know, I can think of several different occasions where I've had people here sitting out on the patio, and we're listening to music, and we're talking about life, and we're drinking some iteration of Buzzard's Roost. Right? The first time that I ever met Pat and Mike and Ben, at the time Ben was with My Whiskey Den, but those were the guys from My Whiskey Den. This would have been 2021, and they all came into town. They all crashed at my place, and after we shut down Bourbon's Bistro, we went and picked up Pat at the airport and came back to my house, and it's midnight 30 in the middle of April. It's about, I don't know, 35 or 40 degrees, but we're sitting out on the patio and we're drinking a Buzzard's Roost barrel strength. And that was the first thing that the four of us shared together. And I can't tell you how many times over the last couple of years that experience has been brought up between the group of us. And that's just what it is. It's become, at least for me, a bit of a celebration whiskey. And so again, that's been my experience with it. How about you, Drew?
Yep. I would say same. I've got a bottle sitting over on my bar cart that's empty, but it's signed by a bunch of people that were with me on some very special occasions, and that is just kind of speak to what you were saying. It's a special occasion bourbon. It's an all the time bourbon at my house, or an all the time rye at my house. But on those moments where we're trying to commemorate something, that one's getting pulled out for sure. So I share that most definitely. And there's usually one or two Buzzard's Roost products on the table. I've noticed at just about all of our Bourbon Fellowship meetings.
And we had last week we had July is Rye Month with Bourbon Fellowship, and there were several Buzzard's Roost ryes on the table. And quite honestly, I didn't put all of them out because it just would have become obnoxious at some point. So
sounds about right.
So a couple of years ago, Jason was in Buzzard's Roost was able to release a bourbon. Again, it's MGP bourbon that same as the rye, finished in barrels from Independent Stave. You can see the labels a little different, kind of cool. But what are your thoughts on the bourbon?
Get a really nice kind of a honey nose on this one. The palate has still just a little bit of that black pepper thing going on that I really love. And then, it's just, Chris Zaborowski had a hand in picking this because it tastes like peanuts just a little bit. And that's like his signature mark. But, it does not drink like the proof it is. I can tell you that. This is what we call a dangerous one.
Right.
But the one thing I would just note that's different, and this isn't a tasting note, but every part of my palate is engaged with this one. Some of that is due to the nature of the proof, but a lot of times with the higher proof bourbons, it's all back of the tongue and back of the throat is kind of where you experience this. My whole tongue has something going on with this one. So probably need to sit and study a minute. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, just like the ryes, and let me say this, MGP makes really good whiskey. Okay, if they didn't, everybody and their brother wouldn't be buying it. But there are a lot of brands that'll buy, barrels of MGP bourbon, and they'll take it, they'll dump it, put it in a bottle, and throw it on a shelf with some stupid story behind it. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's easily replicated elsewhere. That's not the case with this. Again, the taking something that is good but plentiful in the market and working your magic on it with this secondary aging and turning it into something that is very different but still fabulous. I mean, it's brilliant work that they're doing there, and they could have very easily taken the easy way out and just said, we're going to buy these barrels from MGP and we're going to put it in a bottle and we're going to have a really cool name and we're going to have a cool logo, and then we're going to sell it, but they didn't do that. They've created a pretty fantastic brand that the success that they've experienced is incredibly well deserved.
Absolutely. And I'll just say another tip of the cap, they have kept their pricing extremely reasonable and conscious of the consumer. A lot of these brands that have identical initial sourcing are a solid $20 to $30 a bottle higher than what you'll find Buzzards Roost at in most local retailers. So you can go and get something that's really special for under $100 for just about every single one of their expressions, and that's not the norm for a lot of these brands. So appreciate them doing that and keeping the folks like us in mind. Right,
because it makes it easy to enjoy, it makes it easy to share, it makes it easy to recommend, and it makes it easy to you're not thinking, I don't know, I paid north of $100 for this bottle, I don't know that I want to break it out for this. But it's something to again commemorate events and relationships, and and quite honestly, just having the experience of sharing pours of this with Jason, whether it be at a tasting, at a new release, or at Bourbon's Bistro, or Buzzards Roost Whiskey Row Experience. Just being able to share that with him is pretty special too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff.
Yep. So Jason Brauner, hopefully you see this. We'll make sure that you're tagged on it, and hope. I thought about calling you and trying to get you on here, but you're too humble of a guy to let us sit here and brag on you and your brands. So I just thought, well, we'll just talk about him and give honor to him and Buzzards Roost and Bourbon's Bistro, and wish you a very, very happy birthday. So cheers to Jason.
Cheers.
Okay, so that's kind of side A of the show. I imagine that we'll continue to sip on some Buzzards Roost as we're moving through side B. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure that Drew got a chance to talk about was his debut at the Monarch. Tell us about this.
So Saturday, July 29th, I have the opportunity to play at the Monarch Music and Arts Community. You'll probably hear more about that on an upcoming show, hint, hint, and what that place is. But if you're in the Louisville area or surrounding areas, please come to that. That is just a tremendous place that is worthy of your patronage. I'm going to be there, playing some songs with my buddy Evan, so friend of the show, and just a dear, dear friend of mine. But we get to participate in that with a great band out of Chattanooga, Tennessee called Oeda. They are a rock and soul band, really cool guys. So excited to share the stage with them. But just more than anything, more than supporting me or supporting them, come out and support the Monarch. What they're doing is just incredibly special. It is a BYOB space. They're not selling drinks. There's not a ticket price. They do suggest that you donate to the artists that play, but 100% of the proceeds of the night goes into paying the artists. And so they're not there to promote anything, but it is just this place to be together, to share some drinks, and to listen to music. So please come to that. It's going to be a really great time. And it's just a couple days out from the time that you'll be hearing this show if you listen to it on the day it comes out. So come out, check it out. It's going to be fun.
July 29th, I will be there, and I will BYOB most definitely.
Outstanding.
Okay, now I've been in the Monarch once, and it was to see Dusty Bow, friend of the show and friend of us, and Sarah Jean Kelly. They did a show there, I don't know, a month or two ago, and I'm like, it's like, I think it was on a Thursday night or something. I'm like, Cindy, we got to go. We got to get there. Let's go. Hurry, hurry, hurry. And we're kind of, rushing in to make sure we had a place to sit because it's not a huge venue. And I walk in and there are two people there. And it's like 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. I'm like, wait a minute. Am I here on the wrong night?
Yeah.
No, it's just a very laid back vibe. And Mark's the guy that runs it, right?
Yeah, Mark Roberts.
Yeah, Mark Roberts. He was there, and when he got done talking with the two other people that were there at the time, he said, "Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, waiting for more people to show up." And okay.
Nice.
And then, within 15 or 20 minutes, the place is packed. I mean, it's just wall to wall folks. And it's a really, really laid back atmosphere, but it's very intentional towards supporting the musicians that are there and that are performing.
Absolutely.
It's a unique space, unlike any other that I've been in. If you're in the Louisville area, I encourage you, first of all, to go check it out on July 29th with our buddy Drew. But if you don't make it that night, make it a priority to go to the Monarch. It's really, really neat. And it's BYOB, so you're not there. I'm paying $18 for Jim Beam White Label. No, you're not. You bring whatever you want to bring. You can bring drink, food, whatever. Just don't be obnoxious about it. And okay, when I was there that night, I had a flask. I think I had a flask of Russell's Reserve, single barrel, and Dusty's up on stage, and he goes, "Anybody got any whiskey?" Yeah, yes. So I passed my flask up, and I'm making sure that the entertainers for the evening are well lubricated. So
anyway. There you go. Yeah.
July 29th, be there, be square. Drew, I'm happy for you to be able to, that you're able to play there. I know that's a really cool place and something that you're excited about too. So definitely.
Cool. Thanks for giving me time to chat about that.
Absolutely. 100% anytime. So we're going to flip over to side B, and maybe this will inspire us to sing Happy Birthday to Jason. Maybe not. But we want to talk about Tedeschi Trucks Band. Okay. and some of this is going to be very personal as far as what, how we discovered the band, what it means to us. But this is a band that was formed in 2010. Prior to that, Derek Trucks had his own band called, shockingly, the Derek Trucks Band. Okay, Derek Trucks Band was formed in 1994 when Derek Trucks was 15 years old. That's just stupid.
That dude's a freak.
At age of 14, 15, he's playing with the Allman Brothers and crap. Now, Derek's uncle Butch was one of the original members and drummers for the Allman Brothers. If you're, and I'll pull it up in a minute, but if you're familiar with the Allman Brothers debut album, the guy with the big hat on the album, that's Butch. Okay. So anyway, Butch is Derek's uncle. And so at the ripe age of 15, Derek forms his own band. And, they have, great success over many years there. Derek also ultimately played a lot with, he was a member of the Allman Brothers Band, some future iteration of that. But he also married a young lady named Susan Tedeschi. And this is a wedding photo, or a photo from the wedding.
Wow.
Look at that. Okay. Look at that. That was in 2001. This is probably this year or last year.
That's what we call a glow up, boys and girls.
I mean, that people should not be okay. And the image, the persona, the whole thing of necessarily how you look is certainly not what Tedeschi Trucks Band is about. But people shouldn't be allowed to age that well. Good Lord. Look.
Yep.
I mean, Derek's, he's a fine looking guy, but Susan Tedeschi is flat out gorgeous. And and she can play the guitar and she can sing too.
Yes.
But anyway, Susan had her own band that she started in 1993, again, conspicuously called Susan Tedeschi Band. But over the years, Susan Tedeschi Band and Derek Trucks Band would do shows together, and they called it the Soul Stew Revival. And so they just kind of like jammed their two bands together, and they'd play shows and festivals and whatnot. They'd tour together. But they got married in 2001, and they have two kids that right now are a boy and a girl that are right now in their early 20s. You'd never hear anything about it. So I don't know. Are they musicians in waiting? I don't know. I mean, Derek was on stage with the Allman Brothers when he was 14 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Doesn't matter. Hopefully their kids are happy, healthy, and well adjusted.
Sure. But it's hard to imagine that with that genetic makeup that those aren't some pretty musically gifted kids, whether or not they decide to pursue that or not.
Right. Yeah. You don't know. Who
Sure.
knows? Maybe they got the recessive gene. But where I learned of Tedeschi Trucks Band was from our friend of the show, Steve Gorman. And Steve had them on his old show, Steve Gorman Sports. And I'm like, wow, this sounds interesting. So I started listening to their music. And I happened to be down in Nashville at one point and was able to stop by the studio, sit in on him doing a show. And, in commercial break, I said, hey, yeah, been listening to Tedeschi Trucks. Man, that new album's awesome. He said, don't bother listening to the album. Just go see them live. I said, no, this album's great. He goes, yeah, I understand that. See him live and get back to me. He was not wrong.
No.
This week, or as we're recording this, last night, Cindy and I went and saw Tedeschi Trucks in St. Louis. That would be the fifth time that we've seen them. I mean, there are people that have fans out there that have seen them 5 times in the last 2 weeks. Okay. Sure. So, if anybody's listening to this show and you're really, really hardcore, I understand 5 times is not going to impress you, and that's okay. But we've been able to see them 5 times over the last, 10 years or so. So Drew, where did you hear about Tedeschi Trucks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry to the Taylor Swift fans that are listening, but I was a John Mayer fan at one point, still am. And I was nerding out in a deep YouTube rabbit hole one day, and I came across a video of John Mayer, B.B. King, and this hippie-looking dude with a Gibson SG jamming at Crossroads Festival. Yes. And that's the only time I've ever seen B.B. King on stage with another player just set his guitar down and watch. And I was like, okay, I gotta get into this dude. So I think that was around the time that Let Me Get By album came out, 2015, 2016, something like that. And so I just dove in head first and, just listened to everything I could get my hands on. I have played guitar at this point, not at the time I found him, but at the point of this recording, 13 years. That is black magic voodoo nonsense that man is doing on the guitar. And not to take away from Susan, because she is a hell of a guitar player in her own right.
Yep.
Great blues guitarist. And, I was blown away by some of her soloing when we saw him this last week. But that was my first introduction, was Derek Trucks making B.B. King put his guitar down. So pretty cool little moment.
Yeah. If I remember that video correctly, B.B. King is sitting there telling Derek Trucks, ladies are taking off their panties listening to you play.
The dude is unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's very cool. So you saw him Thursday night?
Tuesday night. Tuesday night.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were at the PNC Riverbend Amphitheater up in Cincinnati. So I don't know, hour 20-minute drive from downtown Louisville. So gotten to see a couple shows there. Really cool venue. If you haven't had a chance to see a show there, it is covered, unlike a lot of the amphitheaters. Like here in Louisville, like Iroquois Amphitheater isn't covered 100%. That one's covered 100%. So it's great venue. Went with a buddy of mine, another local musician named Adrian Taylor, and we caught that show. It was a little interesting. I don't know how in depth you want to get here, but the ticket said doors at 7. And I didn't know who the opener was or anything like that. I was just like, I got to see Tedeschi Trucks live.
Right.
So we pull into the parking lot about 6:40 or so, and I hear music coming from the stage. I was like, what's going on? Doors aren't even, till 7. But it was definitely a live band. So we hop out of the truck and run up there and, scan our tickets and go through the metal detectors, whatever. And it's Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's kid. And it was funny. I think Adrian and I were the youngest people in the crowd by a good 15, 20 years. And it was just a cloud of weed smoke for the first 40 minutes that we were there. But Saw Ziggy Marley open, and then the Tedeschi Trucks. So I don't know how much you want to get into it, but
however much you want to, man.
oh man, it just blew me away. Blew me away. So I forget which one they opened with, but they primarily played stuff off the I Am the Moon records, which is fantastic product. We've done a few shows about that project, so check those out if you haven't already.
Right here, here and here.
Yep. But a couple of just main impressions. Obviously, Derek Trucks, a guitar god. Susan Tedeschi might have the most soulful voice from a Caucasian woman that I've ever heard. It was just unbelievable. She's got incredible range. Their band was what I was really impressed with. And so one of the things that I didn't really notice, obviously never having seen them live, is Derek is up there as a band leader. He is walking around to people and telling them what's going on as it's happening. And so there were several moments between him and the saxophone player and him and the keys player where they were trading solos back and forth and imitating each other's solos. I don't think that was practiced. If it was, they did a great job of selling me that it was spontaneous and in the moment. But just incredible level of musicianship, incredible level of creativity. You know, I have a degree in music, so the music theory side of that always makes sense to me. But what they were doing had me just kind of shifting completely away from the original idea of a solo or of a section. And then all of a sudden it would bring back and click back into that original thing that they had created. It was just super cohesive, a great show. And just, there were some moments there that I was like, I can't explain this to anyone that wasn't at the show. They're going to be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? There was just some musical magic on that stage. So it was a phenomenal show. Great buddy that got to go with, great venue, great day, just an incredible experience to get to see them for the first time.
We, Cindy and I saw them in, like I said, in St. Louis. And there we are. Hey, look at that.
There you go.
All right.
Cute couple.
Yeah, how about that? And there's Susan and Derek. Okay. First of all, what my goal at this point in life is to see bands at most in a theater. And if I'm in that theater, I want to be first row mezzanine. Okay, because the beauty of that is I don't have to worry about somebody standing up in front of me if I just want to sit down and enjoy the music. And it's always a great view. I mean,
getting dangerously close to Old Man Yells at the Clouds there,
yes,
Kevin.
And I'm okay with that. But, you know, I can see that. All right.
Absolutely.
Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I would like to be one of these people that has front row seats for like 5 nights in a row and just lean on the stage and take it all in. I would absolutely do that. But I have no interest at this point in life to being down at the orchestra level, in the middle of everything, and, you know, having to stand up the whole time and look around people's heads. And it just, no, especially a band like this, because it's about the music. It's not about the showmanship. And Derek didn't speak a word. I don't think he even faced the audience. He stood at side view the whole time and was, like you said, interacting with people in the band. That was his role. That's what he did. And when the resulting the result of that, you have to say he did a good job with it. But one of the things that you had told me is that Susan didn't sing lead on a lot of the songs they did that night.
I was surprised. I don't know if there was a medical thing, like a voice was going out, because she sounded fantastic. But I went back and looked at their set list on a website, and I think of the 16 or 17 songs that they did, she sang on right about half of them.
Okay.
And then they had, one of their background singers was up there a little bit. Their keyboardist sang a few songs.
Yep.
Bassist sang a few songs. So, it was just interesting, that she would not be the one that's doing the majority of the vocals.
Yep.
Was that your experience as well, or was it?
She probably sang, again, I don't remember exactly how many songs were, 16, 18, something like that. She probably sang lead vocal on a little over half.
Okay.
And the first song that they're opening, and again, this is a band, to call a band tight is kind of trite. All right.
Sure.
But this redefines tight.
Yes.
Okay. I've read before, I think, that they have maybe when they start out on a tour, and they're almost always on a tour of some sort. They're very prolific in their live performances. That they have between 100 and 150 songs at their disposal. And when you go to a Tedeschi Trucks Band show, probably about half, if not more, of the songs you're going to hear are going to be covers. Now, it's not going to be note for note covers like you might see at a local dive bar, but they do a lot of covers because I've got a couple of theories about this. One, I think they want to pay tribute to the people that have come before, like they did one of the covers they did when we saw them last night. They did a cover of Eric Clapton song. So I think that's part of it. But going along with that is there's no ego about this band, at all.
Yep.
And now I think it's a different thing to say, do they take pride in what they're doing?
Sure.
That goes without saying.
Apparent. Yeah.
These are incredibly accomplished musicians. And it's not just, they're a drummer. No, they're a musician. They're two drummers.
There's two drummers, and they're not playing any of the same things, and it still doesn't sound busy or cluttered. That broke my brain.
Yeah,
that part broke my brain.
The guitar solo especially. It was like, how do you do that?
Yeah,
there's some sort of AI, Terminator thing going on here that allows two people to play drums at the same time, completely in sync and completely different, like those two guys did. Is incredible.
That was crazy. Yeah, I sent a video of it to our little band group chat that we have. Yeah. And Evan Sams, who's our lead guitar player, he's like, I'm pretty sure Derek Trucks sold his soul to the devil, and I've been sure of that for a long time. But those two drummers are just absolute black magic. Yep. It was crazy.
Yep. Now, the interesting thing is about the band is there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there are 4 or 5 people that have been with them since the start, but not counting Derek and Susan. Now, one of the people that's been with them since the start is Mike Madison, who is a vocalist and guitar player. He plays acoustic on a few songs. Mike, and here this goes back to the no ego thing. Derek Trucks Band, Mike was the lead vocalist because again, Derek doesn't sing. Derek apparently doesn't talk. if you go to a show, there's no evidence that he's not a mute. But Mike was the lead singer of the Derek Trucks Band. And at some point one day they said, hey, guess what? Susan and I are going to start a new band called Tedeschi Trucks Band. And guess what, Mike? You're no longer the lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike plays an incredibly important role in that band.
Yes.
Mike was actually the one who had the idea for the I Am the Moon concept that they developed into the 4 different albums that came out last summer. And Mike, in his own right, I mean, he's a guy that he knows how to play almost every instrument that there is, and has a great voice all by himself, but he plays his role in Tedeschi Trucks Band. And that's what you see with every member of this band. They are the whether it's the drummers or the vocalists or the horn section, they're all at the top of their game musically. But this 12-piece fits and works because there's not an ego about it. And you know, Derek, when he's playing these incredible guitar solos, he's not walking out front center stage with the spotlight on him while he's doing it. He's just playing. And if you're not paying attention, you don't, it could be anybody up there playing that. But that's part of the beauty of this band. When they opened with a cover, a Joe Cocker cover called "Woman to Woman," and when they started, Susan wasn't even out on stage.
Yeah. Yep.
And
same in the Cincinnati show.
Yeah. Okay. And all the other vocalists are singing like, okay, this is great. These folks sound incredible. And then Susan walked out and Susan started singing, and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's Mike, or whether it's Gabe Dixon, who's the keyboard player and vocalist, or the other backup vocalists, they're all incredibly talented singers. One the female backup vocalist, Alicia Shakur, her range goes through the ceiling. Okay,
stupid high. Yeah. Crazy.
But Susan comes out, and no disrespect to any of them, but Susan comes out, and you know, first phrase that she sings is like, holy cow.
Oh yeah. We're in the presence of something special.
Everything that you thought, this is exceptional, just went next level. And again, I mentioned that Steve Gorman was the guy that told me first about Tedeschi Trucks. He goes, you know what the problem is? It's not fair because this one band has the best singer and the best guitarist.
Yep.
It's just not fair. And he's right. I don't know anybody that sings like Susan. And again, taste is personal. All right. There may be, you know, other things that you like better, but I love a soulful, smoky voice. And man, she's got it, and she knows how to use it at the right point, at the right time, in the right song. And it's just incredible.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Were there any highlights, any songs that were just mind-blowingly good to you?
The thing that I noticed was, like, they did a song called "Yes I Will," which is off of the "I Am the Moon" album, and the energy from that just went incredibly high. And then they followed that up with something that was completely different something that was very smoky and bluesy, and it elevated the show in a different direction.
Yeah.
And there's not a down moment in the show. I know that when they went to their little break before the encore, Cindy said, "You know, what do you think you're going to do?" I said, "I have no idea," because you can't look at what have they done last night or the night before or the night before that. I mean, there are some bands that they have the same show every single night. We saw U2 in Chicago once, and they wanted to do a different song for some reason. Well, it took 10 minutes to get, okay, well, the lighting guy had to change the programming on something, and the guy that was working sound had to change something else, and it was a complete and total effort to change anything. Well, these guys are doing completely different sets almost every night, and so she asked, "What do you think you're going to sing?" I have no idea. I mean, it could be anything of 100 songs. It may be something of theirs, maybe something of somebody else's. And she said, "Well, they haven't done Made Up Mind." And I said, "I know they haven't, but I don't know if they're going to do it." But the closing song was Made Up Mind, and it's I think it's one of Cindy's favorites, and it's one of mine, and
it's a great song.
It killed. But this was the fifth time that we've seen them. We've seen them twice here at the Louisville Palace. Saw them once at the Ryman, once at the Tivoli Theater in Chattanooga. We actually saw them on I guess that would have been our 32nd anniversary at the Tivoli in Chattanooga, which is kind of cool because when we first got married, we lived in Chattanooga. And then we saw him last night as we're recording this in Chattanooga at the Fox Theater.
Very cool.
Yeah. And the greatest guitar solo I've ever witnessed was in Chattanooga. The song was, they did a Laugh About It. And you could it's actually on YouTube. If you YouTube it, there's I think it's called Nugs does these things where you can like pay a fee and watch an entire live show as it's happening. But they've got something on YouTube with it. So if you look at Tedeschi Trucks Band Chattanooga 2021, you can find that a couple of songs from that performance, and the second song in it. The first one is Anyhow, which is great and has a Susan guitar solo that's incredible. But then the next one is Laugh About It. That's the best guitar solo I've ever seen.
I'm going to go look it up right after this.
He plays every inch of that guitar in the guitar solo. Every inch of it, backwards and forwards. And it's just amazing. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best guitarist living right now. Now, Clapton back in the day, yeah. But if you want to watch something incredible, Eric Clapton live in San Diego, 2016. Derek Trucks is playing guitar with him. Derek is playing slide guitar with Eric Clapton. That's
pretty special.
It's worth your time and effort.
Pretty special.
So.
I think not to derail this entirely, but whoever is Derek Trucks' guitar tech needs a raise, because if you know anything about Gibson guitars, they notoriously go out of tune like all the time.
Yep.
And I saw him tune that guitar one time in 90
Yeah.
minutes. So whatever they're doing is magic.
He played one guitar the whole time. He wasn't switching out guitars. He wasn't changing his tunings on any, you know. Okay, the opener was a guy named Vincent Neil Emerson. Okay, he was fine. Okay, but he'd play a song with his band, and then there'd be 3 minutes of silence while he tuned his guitar. It's like, brother, you got to figure this out. I mean, you're all right, but you're losing everybody. You just played a song. Hey, that's a pretty good song. Now what? We get to watch you tune your guitar for 3 minutes? No.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's just knows how to play differently in some sort of ninja way that he doesn't have to do all these different tunings that everybody else does, or swap guitars out like everybody else does. I mean, Susan swapped out guitars maybe, you know, just 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I saw her play 2.
Yeah, but Derek, he didn't change a thing.
So impressive.
I don't know.
So impressive.
He's the guy. He's the guy. But if you're there and you're watching, you're like, what this? I mean, he never faced the audience, not one time. Now I've seen him before where he does, and I've actually seen him speak a few words at shows before. Not many, but he's just incredible. And I've seen him. I've been, you know, fortunate enough to see him a few times, and he just does some great things. Kofi Bainbridge was the keyboard player, and he played the flute up until I think he passed away in 2019 unexpectedly. But there was a show that they did where he and Derek, for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, he'd play something on the flute, Derek played on the guitar. Then Derek would play something on the guitar, then he'd play it on the flute. It's like, these people are just, you know, musicians first and foremost. And so I you know, not to beat this to death, but if you've not seen Tedeschi Trucks Band, it's your own fault, because they're touring all the time, and you need to fix that. Okay. They may not be in your hometown, but they're going to be somewhere close enough. I mean, like they didn't come to Louisville this tour, but you saw them in Cincinnati, hour and a half, 2 hours away. I saw them in St. Louis, 4 hours away. It's within your means to go see them wherever you are. So be sure to do that.
Absolutely.
All right. Any last thoughts on Tedeschi Trucks?
They're amazing. I don't understand how they do what they do, but yeah, like Kevin said, go see them.
Yeah, I don't either. It's even if for some bizarre reason you're like, I don't really like this music that much. Okay, first of all, get your head examined, but you definitely check your hearing. But just watch what's going on, because you got a 12-piece band up there that is in total sync with one another. And with it, it's not boom chicka boom chicka boom chicka boom stuff going on here. Okay, it is incredibly complex music, and there is not a note missed, and it's total and complete enthusiasm brought by the band when they're doing it. So go see them. So all right, so Tedeschi Trucks, we love them. You should too if you don't already. Jason Brauner. Oh my goodness, my friend. Happy birthday, you sexy, sexy man. In all seriousness, Jason, hope you watch this and know that very sincerely that Drew and I both appreciate you. We appreciate the times that you've been on our show, but more than that, we appreciate what you have done for the community, both within the whiskey community and within the friendships that we share.
Yep.
And I'm hopeful that in 2024 we'll be able to celebrate Jason Brauner being in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. We got Jerry Dalton in this year, so hopefully next year is Jason's year, because it should be. So happy birthday, Jason. We appreciate you. We love you. And we'll have you on the show again sometime where you can talk about your whiskey and your restaurant and everything else instead of just us. So, all right. Drew, anything else, man?
That's about all I got.
All right. Where can folks find you on social?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram at drew.crawley63. That'll be kind of the quickest place to find dates and whatnot. There's also a website, drewcrawleymusic.com. That'll have kind of more extended dates and interviews and music and stuff. And then just keep an eye out. We've got this record is almost done. It's almost done. So hoping for a release by the end of this year. Very, very excited for you guys to hear these new batch of songs. Some of them you might have heard if you've seen live. Some of them nobody's heard. So I'm just excited to get to share that soon. So keep an eye out.
Yep. Saturday night, if you're in the area, go see him at the Monarch. It'll be fantastic. And as for the show, we are on YouTube. If you want to watch us, go on over there, watch us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you want to just listen to the show, we are on your favorite podcast platform, as long as it's Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where you can post what you're drinking and what you're listening to while you're drinking it. As for Drew and myself, tonight, we've been drinking Buzzard Roost. No surprise. So, until next time, happy birthday, Jason. Go watch Tedeschi Trucks. On behalf of Drew and myself, cheers, love, and free bird.
Cheers.
Night.
Good night.